Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz saxophonist Danny Markovitch on the 2020 CD Russian Dolls with his band Marbin. We caught up with him in October 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown to talk about this latest project. And on this new venture, he gets the help of four-time Grammy Award-winning and Golden Globe winner Antonio Sanchtez on drums and Marbin's phenomenal Dani Rabin on guitar and bass. Saxophonist Danny draws from jazz titans like Charlie Parker, Julian, Cannonball, Adderely, Louis Armstrong, Sidney Bechet, and so many others, while keeping his unique and recognizable voice. He explains his life and music, the history of this band and album, and so much more. Enjoy.
Okay, thanks for reaching out to the show, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, man, for sure. Yeah, I saw you did an interview with Sam Newsom. I love this guy. He's great.
Oh, yeah, totally, man. Well, you got an album coming out, Russian Dolls, in November 6th, and, it's obviously on the heels of a big election and a really surreal time. What does it mean to release material now during a pandemic and such a pivotal time on the planet?
It's a little sad because if people don't know, I'm in a jazz fusion band called Marbin, which we play all over the States. In the last decade, we played over 2,000 shows, including in Kansas City. Yeah, we just played Kansas City, I think, a few months before the pandemic. We played at, what's the name of this place? Davis, maybe? It burned down recently. Yeah, it was pretty,
Wow,
it's
you played
small,
there.
but it was pretty packed. Yeah, it was a great show.
One of my favorite places. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Kansas City too. We always have a good time there, and we have a lot of great music level fans that live in Kansas City and in the area. And so we usually play all those shows, and it's like when we release an album, we get to promote it and to tour with it all over the country. And unfortunately, now it's not the case. So at least in the beginning, on November 6th, we're gonna release it on Bandcamp. It's on the Marbin Bandcamp, Marbin Music, M-A-R-B like boy, I-N like Nancy, music, .bandcamp.com. And if you get it the first day, Bandcamp won't take any cut of the money, so it's all gonna go to us to support us and our musical efforts. But I don't know. It's I wish we could play again. We had so many shows canceled.
Yeah, that's the thing that's very strange about it, and there's just no telling when this is all going to pick back up. But talk to me about kind of the creative approach to this album.
Well, so the way this album came to be is that we were on tour, and the last days that touring was still possible. We just played a show in the beginning of March in Cincinnati, Columbus, like in Ohio. When we did Knoxville, Tennessee, and we drove to do a show in South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina. And then when we got there, everything was canceled. And on the way there, I was trying to talk to people, getting our shows, to completely go under. And by the time we got to South Carolina, we had to turn back and drive all the way back to Chicago, and I'm actually in Milwaukee, but all the way back to Milwaukee. So, like a lot of people did when the pandemic started, me and my wife took the opportunity to kind of rearrange our house and to clean a little bit. And she found those old notebooks that I had, and I looked through them, and I found all those songs that I wrote, all those, some of them a year ago, some of them like when I was 16. And I thought it was, I thought some of them were interesting, and I played them on the piano. I'm pretty bad at piano, but I played them for my guitar player in the band, Dani Rabin, and I asked him if he think I can do, if it's, good enough and interesting enough to do a jazz album with that. And he said if you can get a good drummer to do it, then we should definitely do it. So I reached out to Antonio, and he was kind enough to do it. And once we got him on board, we were like, yeah, let's do it. And the album name is Russian Dolls because my wife is a writer. And she wrote something like this essay, and she was talking about how, she said it nicer than I'm going to say it, but it's like how, a lot of times when you think about yourself in the past, it doesn't feel like a continuation of one person. It feels like different people kind of living inside each other. And I feel like it's fitting for this album because it's like songs from such different periods, and I was in such different places in life and such different person, as a person and as a musician when I wrote them. So that's why, I do them all in one album. I thought it's kind of interesting.
That's very interesting. It's a great metaphor. Talk to me about the band. You said over the last decade, 2,000 shows, you've clearly hit a great mark, and you probably all have a great rapport with each other. Talk to me about how this began and how it gained steam.
The band is me, on saxophone, Dani Rabin. We both call it the band. He's the guitarist. And we had different lineups. Our current lineup, our drummer's been with us 2 years, bassist for 5. But let me tell you how it started. So we were living in the States. In Chicago, I moved there in 2008. He moved there 5 years earlier, but we moved to Chicago together to start a band together. Marbin is our combination of our last name, Markovitch and Rabin. And we were playing around Chicago like almost every day, but didn't make any money, didn't really have an audience. Like nobody would come out because nobody knew us. When we got, we started to get a little bit known in town and with the scene and get to play with a lot of great people, but it wasn't really it really didn't pick up. So we were trying to get to more shows to see what it's like outside of the city. So I went on MySpace and I emailed all those places out in Illinois. And this one guy wrote me back from Marion, Illinois, called John Brown. He has a place called John Brown on the Square. And he wrote me back, hey, bring your band here, I'll pay you $300, which for us back in the day, I was like, oh my God, $300. And I looked it up, and it was 5.5 hours away from where we lived, which is more than the entire size of Israel, where we're from originally. And we were like, okay, let's do it. And we drove there, and we got to Marion, Illinois. Have you ever been in Marion, by any chance?
Been where?
Marion, Illinois. It's just by Carbondale.
Maybe. I've been around there quite a bit, so I'm sure I hustled through there at some point. Yeah,
so everybody that's been there knows it's a tiny town. They have a DVD store, like rental store, like our own Blockbuster kind of thing that's still going on, and a pizza place, and that's it. And we got to a dive bar that looks just like the dive bars, down the block. And we played, and it was amazing. It's like all these people are listening to the music, and they were buying CDs, and we saw like 20 or 30 CDs, which back in the day, it was like, oh my God, we couldn't believe it. And we were like, we bet, that's what we were thinking, we bet that every town in America has a place like that, which not every town does, but a lot of towns do. And we just started touring really all over the States, but especially, in the Midwest and in the South. So we did a lot of stuff in Illinois. We did a lot of stuff in Missouri. We've been countless places all over the state. Kansas, Arkansas, everywhere. Basically everywhere, Idaho, wherever you put a pin on in the States, we've been there and played a show there. And in the beginning, we just played all those dive bars for almost nobody, or just people that come to hang out, or coffee shops, or restaurants, or whoever would have us, we would play our original fusion, and just blast them. And it took us years, but we built our following one by one. And in 2015, we finally had enough people to kind of move and just do ticketed shows and festivals and bigger things. And since then, it's just been going great. So it was a very, very interesting time.
Well, it's interesting you say, we played everywhere, small places, dive bars, coffee shops, but now that there's been such an absence of music since March, it probably just, all of them seem like they were shrines, Oh,
yeah, I loved it. We had, it's even when we played in a dive bar for a bartender and 2 people, we still got to play the music that we want to play and play to people. So we always say, we played a show, our biggest show I think was like 5,000 people, something like that. So even if we play for 5,000 people or 10 people, we're still doing the same. We're still on stage playing our music that we write, that we want to play, doing our best. And so I got the last decade, I've been doing the things that I love to do the most every day. And it's really great. And so there's nothing I like more than playing saxophone for people. And, I'm getting better at saxophone too, and that's how you do it.
So where are you from originally?
Israel, both me and the guitarist.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what about your childhood? How did you grow up getting into jazz? How did all that work?
Well, my brother was really into jazz. He played piano at the time. Now he's a computer engineer, and he got me into all the great jazz artists like Charlie Parker, Dexter Gordon, Coltrane. And the second I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. It's just it was too interesting. And then I played for 4 years in high school. Took private lessons. Then I was drafted to the Israeli infantry, so I stopped playing for 3 years. But the day I came out of it, the day I was released, I immediately picked up the saxophone again and moved to the States.
When you did arrive in the States and, you started playing, was it a dream realized? Was it always something you wanted to do, was to come to America and be a musician?
Yeah, when you look, it's, the farther away from something is the more glamorous it looks like, right? So yeah. When you're a kid in Israel, and I grew up in a farm, like in a village, on a farm, we had maybe 300 people at the time where I grew up, no sidewalks, no street names. And, you look at the States, you don't really think about the day-to-day of the people. I mean, it's like you don't think about Coltrane walking into the Vanguard and, how many people are there. Or like there is an album, example I like to give because there's an album I really like by Cannonball Adderely, which is one of my favorite saxophone players. And he has an album called Lighthouse, which is it's a live recording at the Lighthouse Cafe in San Diego. And it's like you don't think that you're listening to these giants and you're like, they're bigger than life. Like, oh my God, these people are so good. They change music forever. They mean so much to you. You don't think about how come Cannonball is playing like in a cafe, like in a small club in San Diego, and it doesn't even sound like it's full. And you don't think about the owner and how he's like stressed out about the tickets and the promoter and the players are like, oh my God, we're not getting paid today. And the waitress who doesn't have enough tips. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you don't have any of the reality of the situation in your mind. You just have this magnificent, like, best players playing music, and you don't even think about the fact that all those people did it in the 50s and 60s, and a lot of the music that I like is actually older than that. I really like old jazz, like Lester Young and Johnny Hodges and Sidney Bechet and Louis Armstrong and all those people. So, you don't think about that. So in that aspect, I actually think it was great going up a little bit farther away from it. Because I think it's just so that you'll focus on the artistic side.
Totally. What do you like the best about being a musician?
What is there not to like? I get to travel, meet people, play music for them. It's a great life. Like I can't imagine doing anything else. It's really a good time. And music is so, has so much depth to it that you can always discover more things. And no matter how much you're going to think about it or practice or work or try to, to master it, there's always going to be way more that you don't know than what you know. So it never stops giving as far as I'm concerned.
So when we do return, when you do get back on the stage, when we all get back in the crowd after COVID's over, what do you hope we realize about this absence of live music? I would like to think that people would come out to shows more, but I just knowing people, I doubt that it's going to happen. It's like, it's very hard, it's too entertaining to stay home. You're on your phone, you're on Netflix. It's hard to take people out. But again, for the people that love it and care about it, and I'm obviously one of those people, for us, it's a huge hole in our day-to-day, and in our lives. So, if you didn't appreciate it, I hope you appreciate it more. But I can tell you that I especially because what I told you how we started, I appreciate every day I get to do it, and I appreciate every person that comes to our shows. So it's like, for me, I just wait to go back on the road and do what I'm supposed to be doing. So, everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your bandmates, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
That's a tough question. Who do I think I am? I'm a lot of things. I would say that the first thing I am, I'm a father. I have a kid, and I'm a husband. I try to work on music, but I also try to work on this, try to be a better husband and better father. And then, I'm all those things. I'm all the things that people are thinking about me, from the fans to my friends to my family. And I try to do the best that I can, which is sometimes pretty good and sometimes not that good. Depends on the situation.
Well, hey, man, thank you again for reaching out to the show. It's always a joy to get so many new cats that I can give exposure to and to get your story and to have this time. So good luck with the new album coming out, Russian Dolls. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you live. And, man, if you do come back through Kansas City, I'd love to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Can I plug one thing quickly?
Sure.
I don't want to forget. Me and the guitar player and I started a podcast where we talk about, being on the road and about music and music business and everything we think, we just come to mind. It's called Music Real Talk with Marbin. So it's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. So if anybody wants to check it out, that's a cool thing to do.
Very good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Danny for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.